Hi, Tom Crawford for a Throwback Thursday. This one's gonna be fun. We're at Feldman Chevrolet here on Michigan Avenue in Lansing. But I still remember it, will always remember it as Bud Kouts Chevrolet. Yes, I'm all stuck on this whole nostalgic with dealerships on Michigan Avenue. I used to ride my bike up and down when they brought out the new cars and look under the canvas covers and see what the new ones look like. And Bud Kouts was just a few blocks away from my first house, or when I was growing up, until I was 11 years old. So I thought, what a perfect time to bring Dick Iding out here, longtime family owner. The Iding family owned Bud Kouts Chevrolet, and a longtime family friend, David Aldrich, who is one of their preferred customers. So these guys are getting nostalgic right now about Bud Kouts Chevrolet. Dick Iding, what is Bud Kouts Chevrolet? You got the hat, this is great. I mean, you're still working here. What does Bud Kouts Chevrolet in your upbringing mean to you?
Well, it's been my life. It's been my family's life for sure. I can remember as a kid, my dad, he'd bring new cars home. Just about every couple nights, he'd have a different car he was driving. I think my brother and I put probably 100,000 miles on a 63 Corvette split window right in the driveway. Neither one of us had a license, but every night we just go up and down the driveway all night long. So it's been our life. It's been our life as being part of the Lansing community, which is a great community, and it's been our livelihood. So, and raised our families here and our kids, and it's been everything to us. So.
And it's also, I wanted to get the preferred customer perspective on a longtime family friend. David Aldrich bought a lot of cars here. You had a certain contact person as your salesperson, David, when you reflect on your friend Doug.
Yeah, Doug Gilbert was our salesperson. We started buying cars and trucks from Doug back in probably the late 70s. And we bought quite a few vehicles from him. He got to be a good friend over the years, he and his wife. And we used to spend a little time with him. He had a big boat over on Lake Michigan. We'd go over there and spend the weekend with him. Every New Year's Eve.
So it pays to be a good salesman in the auto industry, right?
Every New Year's Eve, we'd end up at the horse track with him.
Okay.
So we had kind of a lot of fun with Doug and Julie. So he was a great salesman, a great person. We lost him just a few months ago, at the beginning of the year. He passed, so
right.
He was a good man.
Well, Dick, I mean, when you told me, and you and I are good friends, and I purchased vehicles from you. My daughter just leased a car from you. 12 years old, you started here working in the family business. Does it go back that far?
Not that far.
Or 16 years old.
16.
16 years old.
I
Okay.
was going to high school. And,
so 50 plus years, not to date yourself here.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And part-time wise, going to Michigan State, and been here full-time since 1974. So
what I like, when I look nostalgically at in Feldman Chevrolet, and this has been a good situation for you, and you're still working here, which I think is so cool, because you got you and Pat had your brother Pat had great customer base, and you're still exercising that. These old buildings look original though. Are they going to do any revamping on this?
We partnered with the Feldman Auto Group out of Detroit back in 2014, and there's plans for new facilities here.
Okay.
We've kind of worn these facilities out and outgrown them actually, but so yeah, these buildings have been here a long time. Originally, the dealership was called Wolverine Chevrolet.
Okay.
It was downtown Lansing where the public library is. They moved out here in the late 40s. And then Bud Kouts came to town in 1954 and bought Wolverine Chevrolet out. Bud was a general manager for Draper Chevrolet in Saginaw.
Okay.
Bought him out. My dad was employed here by Wolverine in 1946. He was downtown when they were downtown. Moved out here with him when Bud bought. They kind of inherited my dad as the bookkeeper, and my dad was a pretty aggressive, hard-working guy, and was promoted to general manager in 1963. Ran the store for Bud. My brothers and I got two brothers, Jim and Pat, we got involved with the business, and our dad didn't really want us in the car business. He always told us don't fall in love with cars, and there's easier businesses to work at hour-wise and things of that nature, because he spent a lot of hours here. But we didn't
Got the bug,
well.
huh?
We got the bug. We fell in love with the cars, and the rest has been history ever since. But my dad bought the store from Bud in 1977.
Okay.
So we've been around this town for a while, and I guess the Iding name with Chevrolet actually goes back to, I think my dad started with Wolverine in 1944.
Okay.
So
right here, so you didn't have a very big lot right here.
we did not.
You know, you had that old church.
Church on the corner.
And then, but your used car, and I purchased, was across the street. And you
Yes.
still own that property across the street?
We do not. That was sold a number of years ago to the bus line.
Okay.
Indian bus line. So.
But now your footprint here at Feldman much bigger with Heatherwood Farms and
Right. Bought the church, existing church, tore that down, and then the Heatherwood Farms property was quite a big addition, over 4 acres.
yeah.
So total here right now there's over 10 acres.
Wow, that's amazing. Right into town. You know, David, you know, you're a car guy since I've known you. Now you were older than me, but you always had cool cars. Bought a lot of them here at Bud Kouts Chevrolet. But this whole Michigan Avenue, I mean, you're living out of town now, but you come back here. This has got to be down memory lane when you come to see the site of Kouts.
Very
And
nostalgic, yeah. Of course, we both grew up in this neighborhood here, so
great neighborhood.
we would ride our bikes down to this corner.
Yeah.
You know, when we were young back in the 50s. You know, wow, that's how old are we anyway?
You're older than me, Dave.
Yeah,
Remember that,
a
okay?
little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to remember we'd ride our bikes down to Potter Park and such. There was a half a dozen car dealers between here and there.
All right down here. This was like Auto Row, you know.
Michigan Avenue was a bunch of dealers. Started downtown with England Cook Chevrolet.
Yep.
McClintock Cadillac. I mean, went down the street to the famous Story Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
The
Pontiac dealership?
store. Yep. And there was a Rambler dealership there too.
Yeah, Bob Baker.
Bob
Yeah.
Baker. So
Sold Studebakers.
yeah, there was quite a lot of car action on Michigan Avenue. So
Yeah.
definitely brings back memories. So, and to give it a little perspective about how far it went down, England Cook was down where the Lansing Center is
Right.
today.
Yeah.
Occasionally, somebody would say to my dad over the years that, hey, I'd love to buy a car from you, but you guys are located too far out in the country for us to drive. And that's just where the Lansing
Oh
Center
my
is.
word.
To give you a perspective
Out the country.
of those days compared to today. Today they'll drive 100 miles, 200
Oh yeah.
miles
Oh
to
yeah.
buy
A different state.
A couple bucks.
but
Yeah.
state of mind and what driving and transportation was then.
Yeah, you know, David, I want you to go back and see if you did the same thing. When you talk about riding bikes down here, it was magical. Like, it wasn't the second Thursday or the first Thursday in September when the new cars came out. That was a big deal.
That was a big.
That was a big deal. And I talked about this in the intro of this video. They would have them all canvas covered.
Yeah.
And so my buddies and I would run down here, and then my dad was a car guy. You know my dad. And so we'd come out, try to peek in the windows. They'd sometimes have them covered up.
Yeah.
Our good friends Max Curtis would have them covered up. You couldn't see. That was a big deal when the new cars came out.
At that time, I was living in Hazlitt, and I was in high school, and I can remember all us guys would go to Lee McGilvery Chevrolet on the evening after the cars were brought in, and they were covered up.
Yeah.
And we'd be outside trying to look in the windows, you know, in the back room there to get a quick look at them before they were, presented to the public out there. But that was a big deal.
That was a big deal. I
It was
mean,
like a holiday.
did you guys even the auto dealers get a peek of them before they pulled them in here?
Oh yeah, that was huge. It was always in September. The new models would come out. Of course, back in the day, the cars changed drastically. In
They
some
did.
cases every year. Where today, you might get a color change or a light or something of
Sure.
that nature. But back then, the vehicles changed, so it was a huge deal. And the love affair of the car was there then. It's still here today. But yeah, they cover the windows and cover the cars. And I can remember announcement days where back in September where paper would come down, the covers would come off, and people would flood the showroom. With just,
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be people all day long, just, you know, crowds of people wanting to look and sit in the new Chevrolets, and it was a big deal. In 1960, when the Corvair came out, part of being a Corvair, you know, being able to sell Corvairs, you had to keep them covered up right smack to announcement day. I can remember my dad even had a couple stored in our garage at home on the west side of Lansing, because they filled our Quonset hut. They were bumper to bumper in there, and we had them in
I
our
remember
garage.
that.
And I can remember trying to show a couple of my buddies the new Corvair in 1960, and I didn't get too far before my mother called me. What are you doing? So that didn't happen, but I tried to show my buddies the new Corvair, and they thought that was going to be really cool, but I didn't get very far. But yeah, it was a big deal back in the day.
You know,
So,
Corvairs were a big deal, and David, Corvettes were a big deal.
I remember I ordered a 1983 Corvette, and of course that's the year they didn't build Corvettes, because they were going through a big body change that year, and they apparently had run into some problems and they weren't going to produce anything for the year. So I had my order in for an 83, but it was 84 before I could finally get one. And I remember Doug called me one day and told me to come on down, that it had come in. They had it in the back room covered up, so if I wanted to come down and take a look at it. So I came down, and all the service people were in there and some of the salesmen. So they uncovered it so I could get a look at it. And there was another gentleman in there, and he came up to me and he said, is this your car? Are you purchasing this car? I said, yeah, I ordered it over a year ago. He says, I'd like to pay you right now not to take possession of this Corvette. He says, I'd like to purchase it tomorrow instead of you. So it was quite a little wad of cash that he was willing to give me to back away from that car, but it didn't happen.
He had David had a passion for Corvette.
So
Other
you
stories like that, I assume, for Corvettes. That there's something magical about the Corvette.
We had the new 84 Corvette, which was, you know, all new body style. In fact, one of the biggest years of the Corvette. They built it for a year and a half, the 84 Corvette. So 18 months of Corvette. So there were more 84 Corvettes built than any other year in history. So, but cool car. When it came out, it was all new and all different. It had the digital dash, gauges.
Futuristic.
Oh, very. I mean, it was just something totally different than we'd ever seen versus the old gauges. Had the just new dash, and it was cool. And the clamshell hood that opened up, and it was very cool.
I also had a 63 Corvette. Purchased it when I got out of high school, and that was probably the best car I've ever owned. You know, there were classics for sure back then. But next to that, it would have been that 84 Corvette.
You know, Dick. And as we wrap up this video, I mean, you could have retired by now. You know, I mean, you've had a wonderful career. What keeps you coming in here?
I like people, and I love the cars. I mean, but helping people is what I enjoy most about it. But I still have the passion for the car. It's been part of my life. I bought my first Corvette was a 1974, and I actually drove that a year. Put 5,500 miles on it. And back in the day, you could actually buy a car, drive it like that. I made money on the car after driving it for a year.
Wow.
I sold it. I sold the car in a year. A couple years later, the gentleman that I had sold it to decided he was going to move on to a different Corvette. So I bought it back, and we still have it today. So it was my first Corvette. It was a red Corvette. I still love that car, and I've got the passion for cars. But it's fun dealing with the people.
And of course, we grew up in the muscle car era.
Amen.
Yeah.
And those were, I mean, we're talking some classic, serious cars.
Yeah.
That's a whole different world.
Now it's trucks instead of muscle cars, right? Is that where?
Muscle cars?
Well, I mean, it was muscle cars like David's talking about, but now people are more into the trucks than back then,
They are,
right?
but some of our Camaros and Corvettes today got some incredible horsepower and I mean,
You still got a customer base that's enthralled with that then.
oh yeah, and
Yeah.
more horsepower than they did back
There you
in
go,
the
David.
day.
There's your next purchase.
No, I'm too old for that. I can't hardly get into a new Corvette.
Well, David, thanks so much. We really appreciate you throwing the nostalgic aspect. As a past customer of Bud Kouts Chevrolet and now Feldman Chevrolet and my good friend Dick Iding, thanks so much for your time. I know you're busy selling cars, but you weren't too busy not to go back and delve into the history of Bud Kouts Chevrolet and what it's been like here on Michigan Avenue and the auto dealership history.
Thank you.
Appreciate
your
it.
friendship and your business. It's just good being part of the Lansing community.
There you go. Tom's Take. Going back nostalgically, Bud Kouts Chevrolet here in Lansing.